Your Humanities Half Hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.
Hafidez and Tiro, welcome to Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry Harris, and today, bago tafan fino Chamorro dididya. We're going to speak a little Chamorro today with Valentina Rivera, the producer and director of the webisode Ketungo Chamorro, We Learn Chamorro. Valentina, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
As you can see, I need a little bit of help with my Chamorro, so I'm glad you're here.
I'm learning as well. I'm just producing, directing it. I have a scholar doing it, teaching it.
Doing the hard part.
Yeah.
So this is a program that you have 2 episodes done for, and it's currently available on YouTube, which is so exciting. But really, tell us, what is the purpose of Ketungo Chamorro?
Well, so I think that the main purpose of it is just sort of just hark back to who the Sinamay is, their original language, their indigenous language, and their culture. So Ketungo Chamorro is like, let's learn Chamorro in the sense of not just being language, but we also try to delve into some cultural aspects of the Chamorro people. So that's what it is. And, you know, with the Sinamay in Guam, because I believe Guam has their own learning aspect, Saipan has none. So I figured, you know, there should be something here, and considering with the current investment boom that's happening in the Sinamay, there's so many foreigners coming in that I think people are going to start losing it. I mean, I started the Chamorro classes when I was in elementary school in WSR all the way to Hopwood, you know, from 1st grade to 8th grade, just like Chamorro class, you know. So I've always been a little bit, you know, home. This is like home, so yeah.
So how did this program actually come about?
So Ketungo Chamorro was initially, I believe, was 2 years ago. I was with Digital Motions, and my boss basically was telling me, think of new content to do. And for some odd reason, I thought of this. And it was initially called Fino Chamorro. Mm-hmm. And then so I went to the late Ms. Lumi Bermudez in PSS, and she was the director for, I believe, the CCLHS program.
Which stands for?
Chamorro Carolinian Language.
I think there's heritage in there.
Program,
yes.
Very something like that. So
we're Jonas Barcenas now.
Yeah, now he's Jonas. Yeah. So this was like 2-3 years ago. I went to Miss Lumi, and Miss Lumi was, when I gave her the proposal, she was like, you know, this is so funny because I was actually thinking of doing something like this because we actually have some funding for something like this. So this was 3 years ago, and so then I met with Jackie Kituku, and then Fino Chamorro just went full on, and it was like first season. Now, when that happened, it wasn't really my creative control at all. There wasn't not much that I could do with it, but it was very focused in the language base. And I wanted it to be more than just language. I wanted it to be sort of interactive, you know, be with the community. So that's what Ketungo Chamorro sort of separates itself from Fino Chamorro. The thing I liked about Fino Chamorro, though, was that each episode was in a different school. So that was really interesting. But,
okay. This sounds kind of familiar, I think.
Yeah.
I remember that. Okay.
We went to all the schools from Saipan and Rhoda, but this one is more like green screen, really focused in the language, and then the next 15 minutes would be cultural or historical aspects.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the format of the show. Well, number one, you have actually an expert in the language to help you out and to help me out and all those trying to learn. Tell us who your experts are.
So if you go to YouTube, in my channel, Valentina Rivera, you will meet Jenny Magofnian. I believe she's teaching the Chamorro language in Garapan Elementary School. When we started, she was in GTC Elementary School, so you know she has like full certification, whatever, for her to be sort of like, you know, qualified for this position to teach the Chamorro language. And then after episode 1 and 2, I had to go to Ana Lizama, who's teaching the Chamorro language in William S. Regis Elementary School in Chalankanoa. So she's going to be our current scholar for the future of Ketungo Chamorro. Let's Learn Chamorro. So that's really exciting. Yeah.
So these are school teachers. Are you targeting students, young people with this? Or who is it for, really, you feel?
For me, I really view this as for everybody. It could be someone who, because we're going back to basics, like episode 1 and 2 is like vocabulary and then word comprehension. So it's like we're really going to the basics in a sense where they're speaking English to teach the Chamorro language. Because when anyone learns any language, they have to really go to the root of that language and just sort of learn. I mean, you don't learn Italian like just from listening to Italian, right? So that's what I really wanted this base to be, like very easy. So I wanted it to be, children from the kids that are currently in classes as well as people who just arrived here in Saipan, like foreigners. You know what I mean? So, and with this being like a webisode, I want this to be available online as well, because I want people from the States, like Chamorro families of the States, they want their kids to sort of know their heritage and know who they are as individuals from where they're from. So that's why I think this is really important now.
Now, it's a 30-minute show, and as you mentioned, it's divided into 2 parts. What are the parts of the show, and why did you decide to make it the format you have?
Well, when you do something, you sort of want to evolve yourself and sort of make something new and innovative and sort of just exciting. Nowadays there's so much content online, on TV, radio, whatever. So you have to really think of ways of how to capture the audience and sort of not make them go to sleep. You know what I mean?
There's so much competition out there.
Yes, you have no idea. I mean, people will be like, why should I watch Let's Learn Chamorro when it's so boring where I could watch The Bachelor or something?
Okay, so how do you combat that?
You know what I mean? So, because it's educational, I really wanted it to have a format where it's not just boom language, boom culture. So what I'm doing actually is like, we have like 5-minute breaks throughout the show from the 30 minutes. And from one section, it's going to be language. And then the next section is going to be culture. And it goes, and then Anna will be like, all right, we're going to go to our second section, the language. So it's sort of like picks pieces together and sort of mold them into one entity, one episode.
Kind of like Sesame Street without Elmo. Like learning one main thing, but in various ways with different characters and different interactions.
And it's fun and interesting because, the language base, the format as well is going to be green screen. So it's going to be focused.
Now, what does that mean for people who may not be familiar with green screen?
So what I decided was I wanted to be just full black background. The scholar is going to be right there, and then right next to her is going to be like a board. So when she's teaching, it's very like direct to the point of like what you're learning. And then so I realized that like through watching the show, after 5 minutes, that's enough. And then you sort of go to the cultural aspects. So then the cultural aspects would be like, out and about in Saipan. So like episode 2 was with First Lady Diane Torres, and we were in Jotinkizi Public Library. And they were doing some Chamorro stories. So, that could be like the next 5 minutes. And then after that, they're going to say, all right, go back to language. And then, so it's sort of like a fun thing, but still everything is like in line of what you're learning in that one episode.
Now, how technical does this get? Like, how many camera people do you have and editors? Or are you really down to the basics trying to produce this show?
Yeah, I mean, like, my God, that sounds amazing. If I had multiple cameras, multiple mics, that would be like one shot done, but then it's like from an hour and a half shooting one thing, it ends up being like 2 hours or 2.5 hours because there is just only me, and right now Reverse Pictures is just very budgeted. There's like not much money in there. So,
but you can do magic with one camera. That's though. It just takes a little bit more time.
Watch the episodes. You'll see what I've been doing. Yeah, and you want different angles. So Yeah, we're down in the basics right now, but I'm trying to make it more engaging.
Now, do you do the shooting and the editing also, or do you have somebody else do that?
Yeah, I do everything.
So actually, I should have introduced you as producer, director, videographer, editor, sound.
Yeah, basically, yes. I'm just the one that's not in the front.
Well, obviously, you're very passionate about this. So you talked a little bit about it being on YouTube. How is it currently being distributed, and what kind of feedback are you getting?
And when episode 1 came out, I was using another program, not YouTube. And that program crashed, apparently, because it was like the premiere. So episode 1 was like, everyone was getting really excited about it. I was getting a lot of emails online. And then when it premiered, it crashed. I'm like, oh, wow, that must be good.
A lot of demand.
Yeah,
there.
I guess. Yeah. And so then I changed that into YouTube, and then it just sort of, because, when something crashes, and when you have something really good, it should never crash, because then people won't think of going there again, thinking it might not even happen. So then I started YouTube, but then I sort of I think the bad taste was already there. So I'm sort of like going to reinvigorate it once season 1 picks up again. It's sort of like, full marketing push on it. But
Okay, for those of us that wouldn't know otherwise, why don't you spell the name of the show? And we invite everybody listening now to take out your electronic device, get on YouTube, and search this.
Oh, okay. So you go to YouTube. I would recommend you to type my name, I guess.
Oh, okay. Yes, that would be the easier way. Okay.
Valentina Rivera, simple Valentina.
Okay.
Rivera. Then you just go to my profile, and then you'll see. When you scroll down, you'll see the episodes. Is Let's Learn Chamorro episode 1, Let's Learn Chamorro episode 2. Episode 1, I would just say, was like our first episode. So we, think of it that way. And then
it only gets better from
yes, it just gets better. So.
Well, I really got to commend you for having a vision and making it happen. Even if the first episode's really, really maybe, not perfect, but hey, it's the first episode. It's the first step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's really exciting to sort of, and this is being like my first production. So besides this, I have other things that I'm already planning on doing, something like news. So I'm just creating more content for my thing. So this is my baby, I guess, like my first one. So.
Well, we're speaking today with producer-director Valentina Rivera of the webisode Ketungo Chamorro, and we'll be back after this break.
This September, the Northern Marianas Humanities Council, Northern Marianas College, University of Guam, and Guampedia will host the 3rd Marianas History Conference in Saipan. The conference theme, One Archipelago, Many Stories, Milestones in Marianas History, highlights the deep and rich history of the Mariana Islands. It also bridges the political division of the archipelago, which dates to the late 19th century. The conference steering committee is now accepting abstracts under the following general categories: ancient history, including the results of archaeological research, early colonial history in the 17th and 18th centuries, colonial history in the 19th and early 20th centuries, World War II, recent post-war, and oral history and genealogical research. For more information, visit the Northern Marianas Humanities Council website at northernmarianashumanities.org. That's northernmarianashumanities.org.
Welcome back to Your Humanities Half Hour. We're speaking with Valentina Rivera of Ketungo Chamorro. Valentina, I have to ask, do you speak Chamorro, and to what degree?
I'm in the point of learning. So I guess because episode 2 is finished, I sort of cut my learning curve on that. Well, as I've said, I've been through the system with the public school from 1st grade to 8th grade, Chamorro all the way. I went, every single classes.
Did your parents speak Chamorro to you?
Sometimes my auntie would speak Chamorro,
but not in the home.
That's what I'm saying. A little bit. Yeah. Whenever she's around, she speaks Chamorro. My friends were mostly Chamorro, I think, and my siblings' friends are all Chamorro, and so everyone would always assume I'm a Chamorro. So it's funny, but very poorly. So that's one of the reasons why I want to do this, because I should know this, like I've lived here forever since I was like 4 years old. So
that's interesting that you express that you feel you should know it.
Yeah, because you hear the older people speaking it, and you sort of like feel like you just want to understand them and sort of reply back to them as well. Like one of my friends, Roxanne Diaz, I don't know if you know her.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and she would just speak to her mom and dad and her friends, like they would just speak Chamorro and be like, I'm like, I want to listen, I want to know what you're saying, but we're just very casual friends. So yeah, I just really want to learn, really, and it's sad in the sense where I'm not Chamorro, but other people who are Chamorro don't know how to speak, and they should have a way, or at least something, to get back to it. I think this is one of the best thing to do, to get, because you can do it at home. You don't have to go somewhere to class or something. You can just watch the show, and boom, you're learning, so.
You can watch it with your kids.
Yeah, that would be the best part, right? I'm actually thinking as well, besides this, I want to do something like, hope no one steals my idea, but something like, find like Dora, but then Chamorro. Mm-hmm. Right? So I just need an animator. But that would be so cool, right? We'll call her a Sirena or something. Like a mermaid, right? That would be really interesting.
So you said you were picking up some Chamorro in the first 2 episodes. Let's talk about those episodes. What did you cover in them?
So the first, as I've said, this is like back to basics, all the way down to the beginner's level. So an American can learn Chamorro, especially if an American person marries a Chamorro person, they want to learn. So this is something like that. It's really easy for kids as well. So the first episode was full on just alphabets, just alphabets, and that's the first half. And glotta is a letter. Yes, a dot is a letter. So that's really interesting. So, I sort of forgot it. And then once my teacher was saying that, I'm like, that's right. It's like all coming back to me.
Wow.
So the alphabet, and then also learning, the second half, I believe, was learning how to make the red rice and chicken calaguen.
Oh, and who did that?
That was with our scholar and Jenny Magofnia, as well as Hilary Agultu. So they were just making at my kitchen.
And they were speaking Chamorro?
They were speaking some Chamorro. They're talking about different kinds of calaguen, from deer to whatever, spam calaguen if you want to. So they were just while they were making, they were just talking the red rice, and like the real red rice, not like the powdered ones, but the atsoti rocks and stuff. So like they were trying to make it as, local.
Authentic.
Yeah, very local.
So it's interesting you said you went to Chamorro class in the public school system for 11 years?
Yeah, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
12 years?
No.
10 years.
6, 7, 8.
Okay, a number of years.
Something like that.
And yet, you said you don't really speak Chamorro yet. What do you think was missing?
Consistency, I believe, is the number one thing that people need to have when you're learning something. It can be from sports to language, right? So also learning what I'm doing, which is basically editing and video production and writing. It's just being consistent to doing something. So because I was young and I wasn't very much I was just thrown into it. I wasn't invested into it, so I wasn't consistent in really learning. I passed all my classes, but there wasn't that want and need. And now I guess as I got older, sort of friends are speaking it and sort of losing it to their kids. So I just started to feel passionate. I think when I became number one, passionate about it was when one of my best friends, Patty Pangolin, and she moved to California. She has 2 kids, and they're both Chamorro, boy and girl. And now they're in the States, in California, and they're they don't speak Chamorro or anything. So I sort of wanted to do this show, sort of to have her kids watch it, and it's online, and it's it's very accessible, very easy,
And they can learn all about red rice.
Exactly. They're I want to go back to Saipan.
I almost forgot. Tell us about episode 2.
Episode 2. So episode 2 was a a bigger production, because it was really exciting, because then we got First Lady Diane Torres, and she's such a huge advocate in learning the Chamorro language, and having all her kids fluent in speaking the Chamorro language.
That's great.
Yeah, it was amazing. And it's like they came to, so the first section was Jenny doing word correspondence, from fish to, stuff like that. So I think episode 3 is starting to sort of build a sentence, so vocabulary in a sense with episode 2. And then the second section was the public library. They agreed to having us shoot in the children's center. And the First Lady and Jenny had the book, and then they started talking, reading the book, the Chamorro book, to the kids. And there was a pretty good group of kids there. And as you watch the episode, you'll see there's an international group too. There's like Chinese, Koreans, local, Carolinians. They're just like Chamorro, so there's just a diverse group of kids and parents watching Jenny McGuffner reading the book, as well as First Lady Dan Torres reading her own book and doing like an activity. So that was really cool.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, actually, Lady Dan Torres is currently helping me try to push the full season. So I had a meeting with her, and she's like, "Oh man, this is so great. We really need to have this done." So we're working on getting more sponsors and stuff like that.
Speaking of which, the program obviously is not free. Tell us who are some of the partners that have come alongside to help you so far.
Currently, ITNE, Life in Motion, they're amazing people. Hans and everyone there was they're just like advocating into it. So ITNE, Bridge Capital was really great. The CEO is a good friend of mine, and he was like, let's get this happening. So I sort of feel bad that I haven't fully done my full thing because I'm just trying to get more sponsors. The Council for Humanities did one episode, which was episode 1, helped me with episode 1. But right now, so what we're doing is we're trying to get the council to do full season, episode 1, season 1, and sort of just bring like private corporations. It's very frustrating because, most private corporations is, they have a certain number in their marketing budget. And usually when they plan their marketing aspects for the whole year, and then that takes up all the budget mostly.
They plan ahead.
Yeah, so then they don't have enough money to do it. So that was really frustrating. But because of this, this is an ingenious way where they can sort of do this as a community service responsibility, in a sense, for their CSR to tax breaks, because it's educational. This is for the culture, language base. So that's one of my marketing pushes. So.
Now, you mentioned that when you first launched, you were getting a lot of emails and stuff. Where are your responses coming from, and what are people saying?
Yeah, that's really interesting. So when I was marketing the show, like Marianas Variety Except in Tribune, a lot of people were very like, wow, this is really great, but then like, is Valentina qualified to do this show? Like, does she even speak Chamorro? And obviously I'm just a producer. Just to let you guys know, I'm just a producer. I'm the director. I actually have a scholar that has a certificate to teach the Chamorro language, okay? I'm just one of the advocates to try to push to learn. What was that? What was the question?
Where are the responses coming from? Where are you getting feedback from?
So, and then also the biggest one was basically like before when I had my website, there was like a sign up sheet, like to just sign up to know what the newsletters or like just information when the new episodes are coming in, because I would just email everybody like, all right, the new episode is in, blah blah blah. So most of it was like, out of this, there was, I think our number one audience base was in Guam, which is really interesting.
Yes.
And then Saipan. No, number 1 is the U.S. Yeah, the U.S. was number 1, Guam, and then CNMI.
So you're saying most of the people who signed up to receive your newsletter were from the U.S.?
The U.S., Guam, and CNMI. Most of it was like the U.S., yeah. So it was just, I think it's just people just wanting to hark back into their culture. And, in the sense of marketing, I think for corporations that's very U.S. based, that's like amazing, So I just, so a lot of people are just really into the show from all walks of life. I even get like people watching it from Singapore, from Germany, Sweden. It's like super international because it's online. I think people just want to know about Saipan, I guess, or China, Japan. I think they just like, oh, I want to know about Saipan because I'm going to probably go be a tourist there. So I think the show sort of makes them learn. So that's another thing.
You know, my experience in speaking Chamorro, and I speak less Chamorro than ever before, but I find myself speaking Chamorro with an American accent because, you know, English is my first language. That's what I hear most. But I notice that when I get angry, I speak Chamorro really well. And I speak it with a good Chamorro accent. It just like comes out. But I have also found that I can make my Chamorro friends laugh by trying to speak Chamorro with them. They just seem to really get a kick out of me doing my best to speak Chamorro. And that's a cultural thing too. It's like different cultures react in different ways. Like some cultures, they'll be like really intense and try to help you. And my Chamorro friends just have a good laugh at me speaking Chamorro. So if you are one of those people who are trying to be Chamorro and, you know, your Chamorro friend, trying to speak Chamorro and your Chamorro friends are laughing at you, just understand that it's a good thing.
Yeah. It sort of makes you look like, wow, they're actually trying to learn, you know, and that's good.
Yeah.
Right? My friend, Mari Chong, she's, you know, we went to school together throughout like elementary, junior high, and she's like the most Chamorro Korean person I know. Like she could speak some Chamorro words, and it's because we live here, you know, and we were raised around that kind of group of people, and so it's great that people just want to learn, you know, and people aren't Chamorro, so.
What is your dream for the success of this show? What would you like this show to actually accomplish?
Oh, God. So my dream for this show is sort of obviously finish the whole thing. So basically what the show is like, it's just the same as learning any language. There's a beginners, there's an intermediate, and there's an advanced. And what I want to do is I sort of want to break each level into two to have each season. So season 1 would be Beginners 1, Beginners 2 would be season 2. You know, so I want 6 seasons out of all of this, and so just finish it and just go throughout, not having to stop because of funding. And one of the best things about this too is I sort of want to build it. I want to have a Let's Learn series. So after Let's Learn Chamorro, I want to have Let's Learn Carolinian, and then I want to have Let's Learn Chinese or Mandarin. You know, because that's sort of a language that people need to start learning, especially for work. Right? When I was working at DFS, we were sort of mandatory to learn Mandarin, and it was great. I was starting to learn Mandarin. It was pretty amazing speaking to the customers, and the customers were like, wow, you know, so like, I think just being linguistically knowledgeable of different languages, I think is just a treasure. I mean, understanding people is the number one thing that people should try to aspire to know or learn anything. And I think that should be the number one thing that people should learn is understanding people. You know, there's so much barriers in language that things can be misinterpreted from something that was angry to something that was happy, and then just becomes angry. You know, so I think learning, that's what I want. I want to have a whole series of Let's Learn series of every different kinds of languages. I'm really into languages for some odd reason, but yeah, that's what I dream for me to have, a whole series of different languages. And
you know, there's really a different flavor in the relationship when you speak to somebody in their own language.
Yeah, right?
There's all these little nuances, and there's these connections you can make.
You just get comfortable. You just get comfortable with people when you speak their language.
Yeah, you open up a little bit when somebody speaks to you in your native language.
And the best part about this, it's not like Rosetta Stone where you have to pay. You know, this is free. This is free, people. I mean, you don't have to pay for it. You don't have to even pay for gas because you're at home watching it online. You don't have to go to Joninkizu Library to learn the language, you know, because you can also learn, there's Chamorro classes right now in the Joninkizu Public Library. They're actually going to be a partner of ours. Every episode we premiere, it's going to be at the Joninkizu. I just talked to their coordinator, and so we have a place where if someone doesn't have anything to watch it online, they can just go to the Joninkizu and watch it there. You know, so it's accessible in every way. I'm going to try to get it available on TV as well. So I'm still working on that, but I'm just like pushing. I'm just trying to get this going, really.
Well, most of the time when we do the show, we talk to people who have either completed a project or they're starting a project, but they have a definite, funding source and a deadline, a timeline, and all that. And your situation is a little different because you really need people to come out and support you to make this a success. And I really hope that, people take the time to look at the webisode. And if you're inspired, how can people get in touch with you?
So anyone can get to me on my phone, my cell phone. It's 285-3592.
Say that again, please.
Okay. It's 670-285-3592.
Okay.
Or send me an email, riverspictures07@gmail.com. So it's riverspictures07@gmail.com. Or you can find me on Facebook. I'm in Facebook, Valentina Rivera. I accept everybody. And YouTube as well. So I'm really easy to get in contact with, I think.
Any final thoughts before we go?
I just hope this show will make it. Let's hope people will actually try to help me with this. I'm trying my hardest, and I hope someone out there will help me. Thank you. Thank you so much. This was a great interview. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for making time, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Our guest today has been producer-director Valentina Rivera of the webisode Ketungo Chamorro, We Learn Chamorro. This has been your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry Harris.
This program was supported by a We the People grant awarded to the Northern Marianas Humanities Council from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities or the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.